In today's video, we're going to get an updated look on these two Arctic blasts, both of which now look to feature high precipitation, impactful cold fronts for the most part. Like a lot more precipitation is expected in the eastern United States, even versus yesterday, in yesterday's video. So let's just take a look at this. Our current conditions, I don't know why I said that so weird, are setting up in a way where we see this cold front already beginning here near the Dakotas, Wyoming, Montana here, even some snowfall there in Montana and Wyoming, kind of near Billings there. We could see that these showers and thunderstorms are heading northward, racing northward here, out ahead of this cold front. It's pretty typical. So we're seeing some warmer temperatures move their way in to a lot of the eastern United States and especially here in the central United States. Let's just zoom into some of these different areas with precipitation. Again, we can kind of see where we have this cold front setting up right about here. And we can see that there is plenty of cold air behind it because we have snowfall starting up here for Montana and Wyoming. Obviously, cold fronts feature cold air behind them, so I think that's pretty obvious. But this is just the very, very beginning of that cold front there. We do have this pocket mostly over this region of the United States: Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma there, Kansas, Missouri, in through Illinois here. The further north you go there, the more widespread this is. We do have portions of moderate to heavy precipitation in plenty of states here. As we speak, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Illinois are featuring the heaviest of this precipitation. Now, as we zoom in here, we can see there's plenty of this moderate to heavy precipitation for a lot of these states. Iowa, Missouri, Illinois here, it's pretty widespread. So a very rainy morning for a lot of these folks here in Illinois and in Iowa and in Missouri there. We are seeing plenty of precipitation taking place throughout different states there. And for the southeast, it's pretty quiet, but we do have a little bit of storminess here approaching the southeast coast of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. I think that's worth mentioning as well. A little bit of a shorter current conditions update right there. There's not a ton going on, but I think the building blocks for what is going to be very impactful weather is beginning on this frame right here, which is pretty darn interesting. Now, what we're going to do is move on, and we're going to take an overview look at the entire upcoming pattern. Now, as we take a look here at the upcoming pattern, we could see this cold front begin to develop here. 984 millibar low pressure center. This is just by tomorrow morning, very, very early morning. We can see this cold front starting out here. Arctic air racing in behind with this cold front, obviously. We see the precipitation heading northward with warm air out ahead of it. I think this is going to be a pretty decent setup for some severe weather potentially here. Let's just move on a couple of hours. We can see that cold front really begin to explode by the time we're reaching Wednesday afternoon. You can physically see it right here. We have this thunderstorm activity developing here for the deeper south here throughout these regions. Again, a heavier precipitation cold front is what can be expected with this up through the Great Lakes, down through the Ohio Valley, and even into some of the deeper south areas like Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee there. We see this cold front really bringing in some impacts. As it reaches the eastern United States, it kind of just explodes. 988 millibar low pressure center there. Really, really intense cold front stretching all the way from the Gulf states in the southeast all the way up into pretty far north in Canada there as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see a low develop along this and become a nor'easter, like I mentioned. That is usually a pretty big possibility. Although this secondary low we see down here stays over land now, which is going to give it less chance of becoming a nor'easter. We still have multiple days, before this event actually takes place. So that is going to give us some time for things to change potentially, but I don't see that as the most likely outcome here. Things, as far as impacts, linger on here for the Northeast all the way through Friday afternoon. That's going to be February, or I don't know why I'm saying February now. October 14th here. We see snowfall for a lot of our northern states, upper Midwest states here in North Dakota and Minnesota, as well as Wisconsin there with this deep Arctic blast that takes place. And those conditions kind of just continue on. And then what happens is we start to get this next cold front. We see storminess trending through the southern United States here, and then this next Arctic blast is really going to work its way down. As these meet up with each other, an interesting thing happens here, and we get this cold front that basically was down here, this precipitation. It stretches up the coast here, becoming a little bit more of a prominent cold front in there. Probably started out as more of a stationary front, but becomes a very intense cold front here, another high precipitation one, again, like I mentioned, in a lot of regions like these areas there. Again, wouldn't be surprised to see a nor'easter develop somewhere up here and then move along that cold front, but it's not showing up here either, but definitely would be a possibility. Now, what's interesting on today's update is that this is, as we're approaching the 20th through the 21st of October here, the second cool down starts to kind of move northward. So we're seeing this move out, but I think we're seeing the beginning of what is the next cool down here, especially with this low located right here. I think this low is going to move across just like we've seen. Cold front's going to develop underneath, and we're probably going to see this next Arctic air mass for late October move down to the eastern United States again. So the train of Arctic blasts does not appear to be coming to an end anytime soon, and that positive PNA looks to still be prevailing as we reach the 20th and beyond of October. Really interesting news there. Here on the total precipitation, we can see a lot more is expected for the southern and eastern states here. Anywhere in the whites, we're expecting practically no precipitation. Your grays will be a tenth of an inch or less of precipitation. Your greens will be a tenth of an inch to half an inch. Your blues will be half an inch to an inch. Your yellows will be an inch to 2 inches, and then your reds will be 2 to 5 inches of precipitation there. We even have some browns up there for New Hampshire and Maine. That is going to be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. Very interesting there, seeing that very high amounts up there in the northeastern United States. As far as snowfall here, anywhere in the grays are expecting a dusting. If anything, we see that for some interesting states here on this model run for a lot of the Rockies there. Then we see North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then even Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio there. We also see Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, and New York seeing some snowfall for more of the mountainous and Great Lake regions there. We can tell some lake effect snow seems to be what is popping up here because of these brutal Arctic blasts that we're seeing roll through. Again, 2 of them in the upcoming pattern, a third probably coming outside of that pattern. Now, let's take a look at that temperature pattern because this is going to show us the full story, really. We're still in a bit of a cool down here in the eastern United States, but things are going to warm up for a brief period here, Wednesday into Thursday for the eastern United States. But we see this next cold air mass kind of moving in already. There it is. And we can see that for Friday the 14th here, we see it fully engaged in the eastern United States for the most part. Saturday, we see things warm up a little bit again. So it's going to be very brief, but we see this next one already starting to move down. And there it comes. Going to be a little bit more potent than the one before it. This is Tuesday, the 18th. We see plenty of this colder air. Wednesday, it's getting even colder and more brutal and just in general way further south here. A lot of these areas in the greens are going to be 10 to 15 degrees below normal, which is a significant departure from what's typical. But even these bluish purples within the greens, here we see a lot of it in this region. That is going to be 15 to 25 degrees below normal, which is certainly a very far departure from what's typical. And it just hangs out. It really does all the way through to the 21st. So we're still seeing the below normal temperatures for that entire week from about Monday, Tuesday timeframe all the way to Friday, the 21st. Super interesting stuff here. We're going to update you guys every single day. And eventually this pattern will break. It just depends when. We're going to have to really wait and see. Anyway, be sure to subscribe for daily uploads as we do upload every single day. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. And I will see you guys in the next video.